Van Gogh, when you're painting clouds, they don't go in circles.
Yeah.
You don't do that to Van Gogh, right? You don't do it to Paul.
Yeah, exactly.
Seriously, you don't tell Paul anything.
You just have to trust and just go with it.
Thank you.
Do it.
I had a wonderful moment with Paul, I'll never forget. We were on the firing line at the Clondathu base, which was just the big main silver military base that we're at. And we're up on the ramparts, the second floor wall there. We're shooting at all the bugs that are
That was
coming.
Planet P, wasn't it?
No, Clondathu, our main place, where, Hell's Half Acre.
When Denise and I come in,
The main place where the ship lands.
That was the nighttime, the night shots.
No, it was our main place where we did boot camp and everything, Clondathu.
Oh.
So we're up on the wall and we're shooting and all this, and it's just take after take after take, and it would just, they say action, and you just pull the trigger and unload 27 rounds of
That was fun.
and the guns at the end had a flash suppressor, and the blanks went off, and they sent, the powder would come out, and it was hot.
Shells, and the shells.
The shells would come out of the side of the gun back here, but then out of the front, you would have like a heat and it was like a pepper spray. And if it hit you, it was hot and it really hurt.
It was
over and
uncomfortable.
over and over and over and over again, it gets old. And so somebody was shooting and shooting and shooting next to me, and it kept hitting my neck, and it was like my neck was on fire, and I kept asking, like, can we reset this so I'm not getting shot in the neck with this gun every take all day long? And nobody would address it or do anything. And finally, I just had enough. It was like, when you're holding your hand over the flame of the stove, at a certain point, you finally have to pull your hand away. So I just dropped my gun and I walked down just to take a break, just to catch my breath and get off the firing line and take a minute. And there were so many of us filming and stuff, and they're filming all of us. I didn't think they would notice me gone.
We didn't notice the 6'3" tall blonde guy.
And
Notice.
yeah, well, so I walked down just to take a second, and Paul comes running after me. And he runs down the rampart, and he says, "What are you doing?" And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Nobody walks off of my set." And I said, "I'm getting the shit blown out of my neck here, and it's killing me, and it fucking hurts. Like, we need to change something." And he starts yelling at me, I don't care, you don't walk off of my set, I don't know who you think you are. And I was like, I'm just hurting. And we're screaming at each other, and then we're both just yelling at each other, and then he grabs my lapel, and he pulls me really close, and he goes, "You see, now we are making a movie together. Let's go do this." And then, from then on, Paul was like my crazy fun uncle, and I loved him. And I just thought, people have their stories about this, that, and the other, and their interpretations of how they feel about, he's a crazy maniacal or whatever, he's a jerk. No, he's passionate, and like Michael says, and I learned at that young age, wow, this guy is something else, and I grew to love him as like an uncle at that point, and we had a great shoot the rest of the time. Yeah.
They always wanted to pack more and more of us into the frame. So we were always shooting very close together.
Next to each other.
I had so much spray, the powder that Jake was talking about. But you had like little cuts, like little burns on your arms.
It's like sandblasting.
Yeah,
It's like you're getting
exactly.
sandblasted with each shot. It's
Kind of went with the territory.
hot sandblasting.
Okay, number two, words? What is your name and what is your question?
Name's Chris. Off screen, was there any kind of shenanigans or like practical jokes that you made against one another?
Oh, none.
No, but Jake he built a potato cannon, which was really
I
cool.
remember that. That was
Well,
cool.
it was that, but
It was fun.
It wasn't really.
it was shooting potatoes at the trailers. That was
They would fly. I mean, they're literally flying. I mean, I have a picture of you, me, and Neil Patrick Harris shooting that potato gun. We were just like on top of somebody. Somebody got a picture. It was awesome.
a little round of applause. Does anyone know what a potato cannon is?
the
So
PVC pipe.
you remember this is 1996, and my friend drives down, he's driving from Canada to Belize, and he stops and he says, "You ever made a potato cannon?" I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" And he goes, "Come on." So we go to the Tractor Supply place, and he buys all these tubes and pipes and glue. We make a potato cannon and take it to work, and we're up at work, and we're
How's that
shooting
bigger?
potatoes like
Into the cake.
300 meters across the valley.
We had a lot of downtime on this one.
And but the funny thing is, by
Is this what you meant?
Oh yes, shenanigans.
yeah, but 2 months and 1 week, Roccolotti, who was the weapons expert, who was a Marine, he was our armorer, and he comes to me and goes, "We just broke the record for the most amount of ammo fired." It was 2 months and 1 week, and we went for 6.5 months. But we broke the record for the most ammo fired in a film at that point in time.
Do we still hold
$1
it?
billion was the budget for the blanks,
How much?
and we went over it. $1 million just in blanks.
Did the potatoes count as a ammo?
And here we are 26 years later,
Talking about it.
and we're talking about it, so it was money well spent, right?
Amen.
How you doing there, number 3?
Hi, I'm Andy. So, before Starship Troopers, Michael was in a little film called Top Gun. Could I ask?
Why are you kissing my ass?
Sorry, the question's not for you, I'm
Gesture.
afraid. What would your Top Gun nickname be and why? For the other cast members.
I beg your pardon?
What your Top Gun nickname was Jester, yeah? So what would the other
You mean my
cast
call
members?
sign?
Call sign, sorry.
Nickname, right.
My apologies.
You really watched the film, did you?
He just burned you really.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'll go now.
And the question is?
The other cast members, what's your Top Gun call sign and why?
Mine was, did you guys have call signs? They're not in Top Gun.
No, I know, but if you're just imagining if you were in Top
Hypothetically
Gun,
speaking,
what
what
was-
would our call sign be?
Yeah, you asked them what would their call sign be?
yeah, if you were in Top Gun and you're having a,
If you're in Top Gun, what would your call sign be?
and why?
Oh, this is not a panel about hypothetical.
Okay.
We're talking about Starship.
Tell me an anecdote about Starship Troopers then, thanks.
The call signs in Top Gun usually come from, it's a real thing with the pilots. It comes from an aberrant behavior that the other guys notice and they label you with it. So I think it'd be kind of cool to give each other, a call sign.
When I went to military school, I was on the USS Four-Star, which was an aircraft carrier, and 7 of us were on that for a month and a half. And as cadets, they give you a flight shirt, and in the front you get Bandine, in the back you put like Iceman or Maverick. I went and hit the head, and all my castmates, my fellow cadets, my friends, when I hit the head, put my nickname on the back of mine. And I had to wear this for a month and a half every time I went on the flight deck. And they all had the cool ones, and mine was Ken Doll.
But it fits.
Yeah.
Sorry, Patrick.
He's no longer up there. He walked over there.
I have a nickname. It would probably have to be with, people call me Mole Demo in my life because I'm not very tidy. Really? Yeah. Anybody saw my trailer it was not very clean. I'm a messy person. So it'd have something to do with that. Mole Demo would be my cause. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Up there, number 4.
Hi there, my name's Simon. I would just like to say first of all, thank you very much for coming to Liverpool and thank you for the passion of your characters. I think it goes a long way of keeping the fan base alive. My question is, there's the rumoured remake of the Starship Troopers book by Neil Blomkamp. Is there any thoughts, feelings you guys about something you were so involved in being remade and potentially would we be seeing you on the screen again reprising this role?
So there's a lot of speculation on what it'll be. Neil's gonna write, was gonna write, and then we'll have to see what it's there. None of us know for sure. Some people say it's gonna be off the book, but that's just all speculation. you know, Neil's his own director, and I'm sure it's going to be an interpretation that's going to be unique to what he likes to do. I mean, he did District 9, which was an incredible film, and he's done other films too. So I'd like to see what his perspective is without trying to think in my mind what it's going to be, because I don't know. It's his what he writes.
None of us have been asked to do it, basically.
That's a real
And
shame.
the thing on what Denise is saying is like, you know, this guy clearly, if you've seen his movies, they are what we thought Starship Troopers was going to be. I mean, they're dark, they're dirty, they're like, his films are gritty, and we kind of thought Starship Troopers was going to be that way. But being that that's the case, sadly enough, I mean, some of us that survived the, you know, whatever, it'd be fun to think that we could come back in one of the new ones, and I would love nothing more than to be a part. But I seriously doubt that he's going to want to have anyone that had anything to do with Paul's original involved in his. I think he's making a totally new picture, a totally new world, and we're the old.
Again, it's all speculation. We have no idea. We don't know what he's going to write. We don't know what he's going to do, and we don't know if they're going to call us anyway.
When Paul made the film, you got to remember, Paul was raised in the aftermath of World War II, you know, in the Netherlands and stuff like that. He actually said at one point, he said a childhood game for him and some of his mates is they'd find old 88 Panzer shells, right? They'd find them and stuff. And they'd put their foot on them and hit them with hammers and watch them fire off across fields and stuff. And one of his friends got a foot damaged or something. And that's a completely different concept with war than somebody who was raised in some posh little middle-class town in Los Angeles or, you know, in the United States. Paul made a satire on war. He hated the book. He thought the book was irresponsible, and he wanted to take the piss out of it. This fellow is reading the book now, and there's quite a right-wing kind of commitment going on in the United States, and there's a whole different take on that material. I wish they'd leave the shit alone.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Hello over there, number one.
My name is Crystal, and my question is for anybody on the cast. Were there any scenes that any of you guys filmed that didn't make it in the film that you wish it had?
He was pretty concise. I think he shot what he needed, and he didn't shoot what he didn't need.
Yeah, your love scene with Rico. Did you?
Me?
Not you.
Our love scene, Jake.
I don't remember. I just said you could kick me around.
In our love scene.
Yeah, we had a love scene.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you were like, hell no.
So
Refused
after
to kiss Casper.
Well, after I got the movie, Paul called me into at the studio. He said he wrote a new scene, and it was me and Casper where I was topless. And I said, I just don't think this is pertinent to the story or the character. And I thought I was going to get fired. I left actually calling my agent crying, saying I think I just got fired from the movie after I auditioned 6 times, screen tested with Casper. He and I screen tested together. But I was actually, and I didn't get fired, obviously. And then he respected me for it. And then Wild Things comes out. The first person to call me, I'm not joking, is Paul. And he's like, I saw Wild Things. You took your top off for that movie, but not my movie. And I said, well, give me a movie that makes sense for me to take my top off, and I will for you. So that's how that went.
I guess, and it kind of made sense for the film.
That's how you stand up to Paul. I like that.
Also, when we did the test that you're talking about, Paul was required to do a test for our 2 characters, and he had to do 2 people had to screen test. And that's exactly what it said. So when we went there to screen test, like, well, you have to screen test for this guy. So I'm like, well, who am I screen testing against? He goes, in the contract, it says 2 people have to screen test. So it's just you and Denise. And I was like, so what, you know, in a screen test, usually you're testing against another person for the same role. but because it was only 2 tests,
chemistry
he
test.
literally did just the 2 of us.
It was a chemistry test for you guys.
But it was hardly even that. Just with
Paul,
the 2.
We
Can I-
effed it
can
up,
I-
and we really effed it
Yeah,
up.
I didn't test.
Can I answer the
Chemistry
politics or
test.
something like that? Do you mind if I answer the politics or something like that? Paul does not like studio interference. So if they say there's going to be a test, he'll run it so that they have no choice but what he chooses. You know what I mean? He came to us all like, do you remember that we were shooting at we were shooting at the factory, at the fort, huge body scene, body parts everywhere. And he said, tomorrow, he says, the studios are coming up and they're bringing a whole bunch of people and the money people. So I'm going to give them a boring day. And what he did is they came up, they put all their chairs up, they got everything ready, they got all their little drinks and their fruit, and he spent the next 7 hours shooting body parts and blood on the floor. It went on all afternoon. We all had the day off.
I remember that.
And until they got really kind of repulsed and bored, went and got back on their 4 planes and fucked off. Sorry for the language. And he really did. He says, I'm going to go back to the city and we will make the movie we want. Because the film was costing so much money, one studio didn't really trust it. So they split it, if I remember right, between Disney and Sony. Disney took domestic, the other one took foreign, and then they split some of the video rights. So we had twice as many people that have nothing to do with filmmaking coming up trying to control what's going on in front of the camera. And Paul wanted nothing to do with it. And when they had to do tests, it's a 2-people test, so he did, instead of that, a screen test to see if the couple would work, rather than have 2 people testing for the same character. He did everything to the letter of the contract, but didn't give them what they wanted. You know what I mean? He was going to do things his way. And it was really playing a political game, and playing it very well. His gamemanship was amazing.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, Rick Rossovich, who you did a Top Gun with, I just saw him at a con, and he had his Top Gun jacket, but it wasn't his, it was yours. He said, just tell Michael I have it.
He had mine?
He has yours.
No, he couldn't have had mine.
He wanted me to tell you he has yours.
I gave mine to a recovery center in Palm Springs, and they sold it for $45,000.
They
in an auction.
Well, I guess they had 2 of them, because yours says your name in it. He showed me it.
Well, then he had it made. No, then what?
Did you have 2?
Earlier about
Were there
taking
2 or
stuff
3?
from-
A double?
taking things from sets, right? I take stuff so that I can hold on to it for a couple of years, and then I give it to auction houses so they can auction it off, and then the money goes to foundations that, like a recovery center in the desert or a hospital for like people with broken backs that need money and stuff. So, I got my jacket. I took Jester's.
Maybe he's
jacket,
wrong.
and
His says Jester in it too, though.
His is counterfeit.
His is wrong,
maybe
he's got
he's
his,
you have
or
lost
He's got the real one.
auctioned his.
I walked off with it like I did a
Jay Busey?
Busey. On this film, I took the helmet.
Well, maybe there was a stunt one, a Jester stunt jacket. Sometimes they have a second one in case.
I know they might have had a second one because only 5 people went up in the jets. I never went up in the jets. They only allowed 5
So there
people.
must
So
have
they
been
might
a
have had
double.
somebody.
That
But the
wasn't-
flight jackets
yeah.
were never in there. Flight jackets are afterwards. So that's interesting.
Somebody.
Rick got stoned for that one.
We'll get one more question at number 2.
Number 2.
Hi there, I'm Dan. Mine's a bit of a 2-parter, but you've pretty much alluded to the first part. It was regarding the fact that 10 years prior, you had Paul Verhoeven create RoboCop, a dystopian look at the future. And so, with his previous work in mind, were you guys, obviously, Michael was very much initialized, but were you guys aware of what you were going into? The grit, the gore, the nuance that he brings to these powerful thematic.
I was a huge Verhoeven fan. I loved RoboCop. I loved that it was funny. When I read the book of Starship Troopers, I read it in military school, and I thought it was, cool because of the the power suit, power armor. But when I read the script, I went, oh my God, where's the satire coming from? How did I get that when I was a kid reading this? And I went back and read the book, and it wasn't in there. So I went, oh, that's all Paul Verhoeven and Ed Neumeyer. Duh, RoboCop.
Yeah.
For all of us young actors that were just starting out to be able to audition for Paul Verhoeven, coming off of RoboCop, Basic Instinct, Showgirls, and to be able to be part of a movie that was over $150 million budget, studio movie, this was like hitting the lottery as an actor. And we were so grateful
It's like you go,
and
wow,
so
I've
blessed.
arrived.
And so many of actors that all of you guys would recognize their names that also auditioned for these roles. We are very blessed that we were able to get the part and be part of this iconic movie, and very grateful.
My second part would be directed to Michael. Do you think that Paul Verhoeven's Starship Troopers thematically kind of fits into this dystopian world building that was created initially with RoboCop? Do you think he sees it as a kind of advancement of the same
I can't speak
idea?
for Paul. I can.
You didn't see any of that?
I'll tell you what I do think, and from my experience with Paul, and it goes back to RoboCop. I didn't want to play I couldn't play the RoboCop because if they put that shit on me, I would look like a Mack truck. and so they wanted Peter Weller. I had it on a 46. At that time, I was slim and I was still a 46 jacket. Peter was like, I think, a 34, 30 jacket. And anyway, I've known Paul for a while. I'll tell you though, Paul likes to create conflict in his audiences. He doesn't really preach to one audience. He'd rather have people leave a theater. This is the way I surmise it. He'd rather have people leave a theater and have a conflicting argument and discussion about what the film's about. He would like it to go beyond that. He likes to tweak people's political attitudes on society, violence. I mean, take a look at all his films. He never tells an easy story. And as far as dystopian, I think if you take away the commercialization of most of our societies these days, it's pretty dystopian.
Yeah,
Paul's pretty close to the
I mean,
level.
like rereading George Orwell's 1984, and it's surprising how thematically it fits in these days. So I think, especially with the likes of Helldivers 2, a computer game that's been very successful, very much fits into that theme of Starship Troopers and the rise of fascism.
Paul said to me once, he said, because he ran out of favor with Hollywood. He said, I was in Europe, I make films I want to make in Europe. They say, fuck, you're too Hollywood. He says, I go to Hollywood, I make movies, they say, go, fuck, you're too European. He says, I go back to Europe.
Yeah.
And he's still making films. Did you see that film about rape he made and stuff like that afterwards? It was just amazing. What was the name of it? Elle. Yeah. He basically took a film about rape and put it right in your face. He made you make a decision. Who's at fault here? How do you actually emotionally and socially feel about rape and violence and sex and women and objectivity? I mean, he doesn't give anyone an easy argument.
We need directors like him.
Beg your pardon?
We need directors like him. Yeah.
I don't know what we need. Paul's Paul.
Yeah.
You know? Walter Hill's Walter Hill.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you guys for coming today as well.
Thank you for your
question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we did a quick picture with all of us at the front. So again, with you guys up, you get to move it to the middle.
Thank you
all
very
take
much.
a picture together. So we'll jump on, turn around and come on this side. Yeah.
You're so dumb. You all right, Ed? Who sits where? Is that right? Yeah.
How you guys doing?
How are you, mate?
I'm so good. This weekend has been absolutely incredible. I've been looking forward to doing this. I love this show. It's so much fun. How's your weekend been?
Great. So good. So good. Anybody here from Liverpool? Your town's amazing. Shameless pandering, also true. Love
Tom wore
it.
his Beatles shirt.
I know, I'm a giant Beatles fan, I did all the stuff, and it's just a tremendous, they always say it's a shipbuilding, a blue collar, industrial town, and all the stuff about the Beatles, and you get here, it's like, it's spectacular, mate. It's wonderful. So thanks for having us.
Do you know what? As a Londoner, Liverpool is awesome. The moment you come out of London, you move. The more north of the country you get, the more. So when I started doing comedy and come to the north of the country, it was a culture shock how friendly people are. Because in London, these people will speak to people they don't know, just because they're not. Like we don't do. Have you ever? Give me a cheer if you've been to London. Have you ever tried to speak to someone on the underground that you don't know and they look at you like you're a fucking psycho? Yeah, we don't do that here. Like it's, the first time I came up north, it's the first gig I did in the north was in Manchester, and they're again so friendly. And I was, yeah, look how friendly, nothing happened, and they're still that friendly. And I was walking to the show, the first time. Minding my own business, walking to the show, and this lady said, this little old lady, she walked past me, and she said, evening. I said, fuck off. She scared the life out of me. It was horrible, like, they're so nice of this.
What's the rating on this panel, by the way?
Oh, we've just had Starship Troopers up here.
Okay,
the words that have been
tone
said.
shift.
It is every panel that we've done, because all the characters and all the people that have been on the panel, everyone has slipped. We've had people talk about heroin.
I'm just like looking at our first kid lined up for like the Q&A.
Oh, that kid, no.